Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, the official podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society. This is episode 59, Tickets and Ephemera. We'll be taking you back to the history of Walt Disney World tickets and going through a lot of listeners submitted as well as our own personal ephemera that we've collected over the years. I'm your host, Todd McCartney, and sitting in with me tonight, as always, coming from Tampa, is Mr. Hal Bowers. How you doing tonight, Hal?
Aloha. I'm doing good, thank you.
Good, yeah. We talked about the Lego in the background there before the call. We got a little building going on with the kids.
Yeah, we've gone a little summertime and we've gone a little Lego crazy just to kind of keep people occupied. There you go. Yeah, it's nice though. It's good.
It's fun.
Good quality family time.
That's right. The Lego monorail and contemporary set has not been created yet, so maybe we could.
Not yet. There was a great contemporary in the Lego Ideas program.
Oh, really?
So I'm not sure if that one's still around. I think it was built at the micro scale. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Go look for it and vote for it because that is a really good one.
That would be a great addition to the architecture series. That would be really cool. And some guy had Spaceship Earth with interior scenes that you would turn a crank and little cars would go, which was really, really pretty involved.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, it is. It is. And coming to us from Philadelphia tonight is Mr. Brian P. Miles. How you doing tonight, Brian?
Greetings and salutations from the city of brotherly love. It's our big week coming up, 4th of July week.
That's right.
A lot happened here on 4th of July in 17.
Did you guys have something to do with that?
Once or twice. There were a couple of folks here that got together and decided to commit some treason. And, we set off some fireworks, and apparently that's caught on. So,
look at that. I hear that fireworks police calls are up in most states, 70% right now.
Apparently, people are, what's old is new,
Exactly. So JT might be joining us on this episode a little later. He's got some things to take care of. So we're going to dip into the corrections and comments first and then get into the mailbag and do our audio rewind as always. But Brian, last month we talked about menus, and you went through a variety of them, from Magnolia Room and Top of the World, and I'm still hungry. I think I'm still thinking about some of those.
So are our listeners. We got so much mail and tweets and Facebook posts.
It's unbelievable.
Food is the great unifier, I think, and that's the legacy of Anthony Bourdain and some of the modern travel food people that have brought great content. It shows how food brings people together, and it's something we universally share, a great meal.
Yep.
And the cultures and tastes around the world. And Walt Disney World, of course, brought all of that to Florida as a region of Central Florida that wasn't known for particularly cosmopolitan tastes and brought flavors from all over the world. And it was really great to see the reaction to that episode. We've done food episodes before. We know it strikes a nerve.
Yeah.
And tingles one of the major five senses. and it was really great to get that feedback and see that it still rings true that so many people's vacations have a food memory burned into them.
Absolutely. And you hit on an important chord there, but being something that brought us all together. And what somebody even mentioned, I forget the individual, so I apologize, but they said how it was so special to go eating out at that time. In the 70s, 80s, it was still a big thing. We've mentioned this before. And when you had to eat out every night at a resort, it was like special every night. So it just seemed that much more incredible as you went around.
One email in particular sticks out. We've heard from him a couple of times. Our friend Dane Prade, who's a fellow from California, or Canada rather, who in, I believe it was 1978, he said, his parents won a contest, a 2-week trip to Walt Disney World.
Yep. And we're going to talk about that a little later, too.
Yeah. So he's got all the stuff, and he sent some of that in, but so much of his thing was the food. And he was talking about the grapefruit that his mother had every day, and the certain things that they got to eat at the meals. And it was just it's so neat to hear from people about that stuff.
So I got a select number here that I chose, Brian. So I got a couple comments and corrections that we wanted to do. One was from Zach Brown, and he actually went back to his mother and asked about to validate Brian's memories of having breakfast at the top of the world. And he says, I asked my mom if she remembers ever eating breakfast up there, and she not only responded with a resounding yes, we did, but also mentioned that she specifically remembers eating there during a trip in the early part of 1982. They looked out the window and could see a large silver ball in the distance, and they asked what the waitress what it was, and she told them, oh, that's Epcot. So pretty cool. Got an early preview from the top of the world.
I also heard through Twitter from BioReconstruct, who does a lot of aerial photographs and under construction things, keeps people up to date on the parks. And he remembered, and I knew this when we recorded the show, but yeah, they absolutely served a champagne brunch in the top of the world for quite a while too.
Yeah, that's so cool. So another gentleman by the name of Brian as well wrote in a little bit about the trophy room. Obviously being renamed back to the Magnolia Room at some point. He said that restaurant was originally menu based and then moved to a buffet at some point in the late 90s. And the Magnolia Restaurant remained for a short time as a bar, and then eventually was removed to become the ticket center for the guests at the resort. So that's what it was turned into.
Yeah, once the Department of Defense took over in 94, it became that resort. Obviously, the food service became a little more catering-like. They were a little more like the chow line.
Sure.
For the military personnel that stayed there. So you didn't get as fancy a venue. Now, of course, we've mentioned it on the Shades of Green episode that we did, that resort has been completely redone.
Right.
They've rebuilt the whole central towers and everything else, and very few vestiges of the original golf resort remain.
Yep.
But there's still some food. There's little bits of the food past there.
Still there, yep. Linda also wrote in with some great favorites that she had over the years. Sherwood Crepes at King Stephen's Banquet Hall.
Now they might have been the mint crepes.
Mint crepes.
Yeah, they might have been
Named
the ones
Sherwood.
that were creme de menthe based, I believe, was the Sherwood crepes. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. She says also, too, onion soup served in cast iron kettles at the Liberty Tree with an optional appetizer of oysters.
Boy, that had to be delightful in, like, July.
Scalding. Here's a hot cast iron kettle.
Head on in there and just get a big old bubbling hot.
The heat radiating from this kettle as you sit there, like your chest is warming up, just sitting next to it. But I'd still get it.
Honey, I'm famished. Let's go just get a boiling cauldron of soup.
Cafeteria style selections at the Crystal Palace with a wandering accordion player. So
we have to correct that because the Crystal Palace was one of the first, not cafeteria. Buffeteria, yes. It was a buffeteria. And we do have pictures of that. And that person who wrote into us, I had shared some of those. We have a whole album of the fella who went and took food service pictures for some reason in the mid-'70s. And there are interior photos of the buffeteria that you can see the register and you can see some of the items, the Jell-O and the salads and different things that they could take. And it for a food historian like me, it's just, I want to go there so badly. I want to walk through that line and pick up way more than I can eat and just try everything. Yeah.
Right. And it probably wasn't great, but it was
of
the time for sure.
It was all you could eat. You just piled the plate. Like
it wasn't all you could eat. That was, you paid per item. Yeah. So you get the Jell-O was a quarter.
Buffeteria. That's right.
Yeah, it was a cafeteria line set up like a buffet, but it was all served. You didn't really serve yourself so much as most of it was that they handed you from behind the glass case.
Right.
I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that. So if you've ever been, some of our southern listeners, Luby's or Piccadilly, those are southern cafeterias, and those you mostly are served. You don't actually serve yourself. They spoon the stuff out from behind the line. And
gotcha.
And that's how that stuff was kind of done. It was basically a transition between an automat where it was just no human involvement versus kind of selecting things from behind the glass and saying, I'll take that, I'll take that.
Linda also remembers, and Hal, tell me if this is when Kiko Man sponsored it, the Adventureland Veranda with the teriyaki chicken and ribs.
Oh, yes, very, very much so.
Yeah, it had to be that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep,
Excellent.
for sure.
So thanks, Linda, for that. And the last one we have is from our friend Joe Barlow. Talks about the Sandtrap Restaurant as really being a hidden gem at Walt Disney World. He says the food did not come out quickly. You sat and relaxed. Everything was made as you ordered it. You could watch the 18-hole of both golf courses, which is pretty neat. He says that the air conditioning was the other most awesome part. It was like a meat locker in there, he says. So he was fond of the Reuben sandwich and club sandwich, and what really made it special was the employees would really remember you when you walked in. And here's a really interesting tidbit, which I didn't realize. Disney had their own weather radar on top of the Contemporary, not sure if it's still there, and they had a channel on their in-house closed-circuit TV that displayed it. During the summer months when the rains were coming in, that was usually displayed on one of the televisions. So, have we heard of this radar? It's like Doppler Disney, or Disney Doppler. I gotta get this. That's pretty cool. So thanks, Joe, for that. And that wraps up our corrections and comments from the menu episode. And with that,
I got one more.
You got one more. Go, Hal.
I got one more. So our good friend BioReconstruct gave me some feedback on our people when we were talking about the People Mover and what happens to it during hurricanes.
Oh yes.
And we made the offhanded comment of like, oh well, next time he's up, he should see if they're all in the tracks or the. Well, he looked, and sure enough, they are still all laid out on the tracks right now.
Really?
Just as they were, when the Magic Kingdom shut down. They didn't take them and try to shelter them or anything. And as we talked, we kind of came to the conclusion that there's probably the way the wheels are set up underneath probably keep it from being able to get blown off of the tracks if there was a heavy wind, because it's probably set up like a roller coaster where there's wheels on multiple sides.
Sure.
And then also we realized there's not much there's really no electronics inside of them. It's all mechanical because the engine, the motor is actually on the track. So there's just a little bit of mechanics to open and close the doors inside of them.
And there's no motor for that either, right? That's just a trigger of a little arm, if you will, under the track.
So if they get wet, there's really no downside to them getting soaked. It's not like you'd burn out, a whole battery system or something.
It's not like opening the roof on Spaceship Earth and letting it sit there.
Right, exactly.
Cool. Yeah. We did a lot of calculations and Google Map fun last month. So that's awesome. Thanks, Al. Thanks for adding that in.
Yeah.
All right. And coming into Ohio, he just joined us just in time for listener mail, Mr. JT Kuzier. How are you doing tonight, JT?
I am doing great. We're experimenting with the bedtimes, so it's I've learned that my son, you could put him to bed at 6 p.m., 8 p.m., midnight, and he still gets up at 6 a.m. So there's no rhyme or reason. So so that's what I was doing. I was up, just keeping him up. But so here we go. I got a pretty solid month of listener mail. This month I noticed it was just sort of a potpourri of various topics. Lots of questions, lots of comments, lots of well wishes. So I'm going to kind of go through a few different things here, and we'll go with that. So Jen Miller wrote us. She says, greetings from Los Angeles. As a Southern California resident, most of my Disney theme park visits in recent years have been to Disneyland Resort, but WDW holds a special place in my childhood memories. Your podcast is a trip down memory lane for my brother and me to the time we lived there in the 90s. Her dad is a veteran Disney animator who was transferred to Florida when MGM Studios opened in 1989 to be a part of the animation studios there on site. If you don't know what she's talking about, at one point in the Hollywood studios, there was a real live working animation studio, and you could go and peek over the animators' shoulders as they sit on all of our resort TV videos on our YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to. We often got to visit him in the studio, and I remember watching the tourists walking through the magic of Disney animation attraction and feeling special that we got to be down with the animators up close. And this is a nice little nugget here. She says, my dad worked on the animation of Donald, Panchito, and Jose in the new version of Rio de Tiempo. Sorry, I guess
Del, yep.
Is it Del?
Yep,
Rio
it's Del.
Del. Okay. El Rio. There's no L. L means the. I know that. Sorry, we're getting through this, Jen. I'm grateful we had to experience so many of the classic anime attractions that are no longer there that you discuss, like Horizon's Kitchen Cabaret, World of Motion, Empress Lily. She goes through the whole list. But she wants to touch base about Mickey's Retreat, and she has a memory from going there for some event and swimming in the pool. She also remembers the picnic area and the beach and the lake with some volleyball courts. Her most recent trip, her husband got picked to be in the Harbor Attack, and he also got picked as an extra as Indiana Jones' Epic Stunt Spectacular. So
he got
on.
both in one visit. That's
apparently,
wow.
2010.
Helps to know people, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the thing. He went for the animation show, and they realized it wasn't there anymore. So.
Was he wearing like a Hawaiian shirt or something?
He could have been. He got fake punched in the gut 10 times by Marion Ravenwood. I do have a couple questions, though, for you, and I know we answered, I think, both of these maybe on email, but we'll throw them on the show here and just sort of, see who knows the answers. Number 1, did Fort Wilderness have a petting zoo, specifically with goats? Number 2, did you know anything about a movie theater near the Contemporary that screened Disney films for cast members and their families? She has a memory of seeing a far-off place there, but when she asked her mom, she didn't remember.
So there are two answers to that. The petting zoo did used to exist at Fort Wilderness. It has since closed. I think when I replied to her, I said it was 2005, but I'm not going to swear by that. I think that was the year, though. And, of course, they've since moved all that to Animal Kingdom, where at Conservation Station there's a small petting zoo there that is supposed to, just as they moved a lot of other animal-based attractions into the Animal Kingdom, the one that was at Fort Wilderness that encouraged you to touch a goat and other things has since moved over to Animal Kingdom, has been temporarily closed while the Conservation Station train was down. And obviously in the era of COVID, once the park reopens, I doubt they'll have it open right now. But at some point, it will likely come back. My second answer to her on the movie theater was I think they may have been thinking of the theater that was at the Contemporary in the Fiesta Fun Center, which was there for part of the time that Jen and her family lived in Florida. Her father is Mark Henn, who's an animator who to me most famously worked on Ariel in The Little Mermaid. But he's been with Disney, I think 40 years now, or close to 40 years. He's one of their senior animators and does some brilliant work. So it was really, really cool to hear from her.
I know in the old days they had, I would see things, I think in some of the cast member newsletters about how they would show movies from time to time. So that's a good question. I wonder if it was in the Contemporary or they set up a temporary room someplace.
And possibly down at was the Disney Institute, and before that was the Conference Center at Lake Buena Vista. I mean, they use that for a lot of that kind of stuff. So, we know there's been a theater down there for years.
Yeah.
That is, stage and a screen that they've used for events and presentations. It's still there, left over from the Institute days. So, it's possible that's where they showed them. But
it's neat too. She sent a picture of herself, I believe, and her brother. Yeah, and on the whatchamacallit, and it's when the colors of the whatchamacallit had been, let's say, made more subdued.
It was late in life.
Yeah, it was very late in life. There looks like there's some even steel supports inside keeping it going, but it was definitely a late 80s, early 90s peach and teal.
He moved down there when the studios opened in 89, like for the 88, 89, and that moved to downtown Disney in 94. So they had like that 5-year period down there where the Vegasing of downtown Disney hadn't happened yet.
Right.
So you had what was left over, and they were like trying to update it for the 90s without the full overdue.
A couple coats of paint will do.
Yeah, so those early 90s in the Disney Village were a really interesting time to be there.
Exactly. And I love she's waiting for Cranium Command, Maelstrom, and Journey into Imagination. So I think we'll definitely hit on at least one of those pretty soon.
I think you can count on 2 of them.
Yeah, I think even
year.
2.
They're high on the list.
Exactly. Cool. Thanks, JT. Anything else?
Next up was Craig Bauman. He says, "Gentlemen, I'm sure that you've received lots of replies, as you mentioned on the show, about Mickey's retreat, but he wanted to just let us know how his experience was there. And surprisingly, we didn't get a ton on it. Just you, Craig, and I think that might maybe one other. But
maybe 1 or 2 tweets about it,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
He says, the only time I was there during his 2 college programs was for a CP. What's CP stand for? College program. Oh, duh. Okay. College program social event at the beginning of my second one. They used the setup there to bring all the new college programs together to have a mix and mingle event. As he recalls, there was no swimming in the lake. This was 2001. It's about the time period with the Bay Lake closing and all that around then. Only the pools with volleyball and other games on the beach. There's also multiple basketball and tennis courts. As far as the facilities go, there were changing rooms as well as a large room that was used for games and icebreakers. Oh, I love icebreakers in meetings and things like that.
No.
They're the most productive use of time of your life.
Oh yeah, sure.
You say what your first name is and then what you're bringing to the picnic that rhyme that uses the same first letter. Brian's bringing bread.
And show us a clue out of your wife's purse.
Oh, it's just terrible. Meetings
thank
are
you.
terrible.
There was also a place to rent paddle boats to go out on the lake. Overall, a pretty cool place to hang out, but nothing crazy, over the top, or fancy. He says, keep up the great work. So, I mean, nothing too fancy. Doesn't sound like anything
Sounds
crazy.
like a basic summer camp, you know?
I don't think they made it. It's not meant for Disney guests. It's not a resort level. It's meant for college programs and college kids. That it's a solid place to go.
Yep.
Yeah, and there were also baseball and softball diamonds back over, kind of in the back, which I don't know why they're not connected. But if you go past Lake Buena Vista, like you're going to go past the tree houses and you go back to where the warehouses are and some of the support stuff back there, there's a couple of baseball diamonds that have been there forever where they have softball games and baseball games.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Craig. We appreciate that. All right, to get on the show, to reach us, podcast at retrowdw.com. Send us your messages, comments, concerns, questions, anything like that. We'll read them on the air possibly, and we also attempt our best to reply to you. So if we don't get to you, it's nothing personal. We've just get so many, and one of us tries to get back to you at any given time. So thank you for all the messages, tweets, and comments.
All right, well, it's time for this month's Audio Rewind, and how you've been in command and control of the Audio Rewind here for a number of episodes. I will admit you kind of stumped me a little bit at first. I was a little bit then I kind of got it. But what do you, JT, Brian? Did you have it?
I did.
You did. Okay.
Yeah, I got it too. That was a good one.
JT got it too. So, well, before we give away the answer, let's take a listen to last month's Audio Rewind. All right, Hal, let's tell them where that came from.
That was from Spaceship Earth. Right. So as you were going through, it's like you heard all of these different sounds around you, the electronic gibberish and
communication.
Yeah, just gave an indication of like all the different. I think the idea was like you were supposed to be hitching on kind of like a satellite relay, so you could hear the audio of all the different channels going on around you.
Kind of like a digital party line.
Kind of, yes, a digital party line.
So we do have a winner this month. Congratulations to David Andrews. We'll be sending out your prize. And we have a prize for this month. I'm going to throw in a couple different ephemera items because it is ephemera episodes. A couple old tickets that have expired. You'll not be able to turn. Well, you might be able to turn some of the A's and B's in because, for 10 cents, 20 cents here. But we'll throw a couple of those in, some Disney news. So a lot of things that go along with ephemera and some of the double copies of things that we have. So it'll be a nice party package, if you will, of ephemera and tickets. If you know the answer to this month's Audio Rewind. If you think you know the answer to this month's Audio Rewind, send your guesses to contest@retrowdw.com. All entries must be received by July 20th, 2020. All correct entries will be entered into a random drawing to pick the winner for this month's prize. All right, well, it's time for this month's main topic, and as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be going through tickets as well as ephemera. We had a lot of people send in some of their favorite ephemera, which I've printed out. I'll share with you. I've got a pile of some interesting things, and how you ended last month's episode with a really great question or request to our listeners, which was find the most obscure piece of ephemera in your collection. And we got some good ones here. I've got to admit that I haven't seen before. I've got a handful of some wacky things, and really cool stuff came in.
We did get some really, really interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah. And I think we should define what ephemera is and what we mean by that before we talk about it. To me, and maybe you guys can chime in if you feel this is different, ephemera to me is something that was not necessarily sold in the park. We're not talking about souvenirs. These are things that your ticket stubs, the guides, things that were in the hotels that you took because there were a guidebook or a map or a ticket stub or a little brochure or a coat check or something like that. Do you guys agree? It's all these little things that over the years have just piled up to thousands and thousands and thousands of things that Disney has printed. Mostly of this ephemera is paper, but I don't classify it as souvenirs, anything you could purchase. These are things that
I believe that is kind of the dictionary definition
of
ephemera.
Yeah.
is in fact, things that were temporary by nature, usually paper, and not intended to be kept, just, like something that was useful, like a map or a time guide or something that people just hung on to.
Sure.
That you were not meant to. And that's kind of the difference. So it was intended to be made for a specific purpose. And then, once it served its purpose, it went into the recycle bin and that was it. But us nerds hung on to it
and I think the most
for 40 or 50 years.
Like a consumable, like it's it's going to be, most people throw that away. Like, 9 out of 10 people with everything we're talking about here, it ends up in the trash because it's not. But, there are people like us and everybody else, they see something. And to me, it's like if something I used it my whole trip, it's almost more of a souvenir for the trip than the souvenir I bought on the last day. Like, it's... if that some of you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say if you carried around that one paper map in your pocket and then it ends up getting folded, like a hamburger, and then it goes in your back pocket and your wallet on a few rides, and then the next time at the end of the night when you see it, it is like, wow, that had a day. Sometimes those end up making it home with you, and you're like, yep, that was there with me. That made the journey, and that's part of the fun of keeping it. And other ones too are the things in your hotel, like the little magazine, a little brochure. You look at it on the plane ride home, or whatever. Anything that reminds you of the trip that is, I think, paper mostly.
A big part. What do you guys think about the biggest piece of ephemera? Really, as we've discussed here, is tickets, right? So let's start the ephemera off here with tickets. I'm going to give you a little bit of confusing history on Disney tickets. Now, here's what's interesting about this. First of all, a big thank you to allears.net. I could not have done this research without their website because they have a very, very thorough encyclopedia type listing of all tickets from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, etc. And it's really a great resource. So I kind of put this narrative together by looking through and looking at the differences between years and years. And I can only say that for the first 25 years of the park, the tickets were a virtual disaster of epic proportions from year to year. If you think it's confusing now, sit back, relax, and take a listen to what we have here. So first of all, let's talk about where you could buy your tickets too in the very beginning. So, and how you have the earliest memories of all of us, but obviously the purchasing at the Transportation Ticket Center was a big thing. I remember personally buying them at the Polynesian Resort. They had a little kiosk kind of tucked under that other stairwell in the back. And
we did it at Fort Wilderness to the left of Pioneer Hall. There was a window, and we were going to the boat to go to the Magic Kingdom, and we'd stop there, get our ticket, and then we'd get the boat and go.
And how about this one? This is a forgotten place. Villa guests could purchase at the reception center, which, as we recall in other episodes, was the preview center that got turned into the reception center when they.
Yeah, well, you could buy the tickets at the preview center too before it opened.
That's true. Before it even opened. Yeah. So
ticket books then. Is that what
ticket
you buy?
books or a lot of different. There's a lot of different things here. So we are going to be focusing on admission tickets and attraction tickets. There are tickets for everything else. I have a couple smatterings thrown in here that will kind of give you an idea, but we're not going into dining tickets. I mean, the amount of tickets that Disney, they probably kept Globe tickets going, because a lot of these tickets books were produced by Globe Tickets over the years and produced them for Disney. So, and we can't forget too, you could buy some of these attraction tickets inside the Magic Kingdom if you wanted more. Once you were in, there were ticket booths around. So let's rewind to 1971. We have our general admission tickets and a 7 adventure book we'll talk about. Now, there were 3 classifications of tickets back then based on your age. There was the adult, there was the junior, which was ages 12 through 17, and the child 3 through 11. Anybody under 3 was generally admitted for free, as they are today. The adult was $3.50, $2.50 for the junior, and $1 for the child. That didn't grant you anything other than walking through the turnstiles. So this is where it starts, the whole, just like they did Disneyland, A, B, C, D, E tickets.
Wait, that doesn't even get you through the turnstiles. Because you have to redeem a different ticket before you can get to the park.
Correct. We'll talk about the transportation tickets. Yeah, we've got those. So.
Unless you walk there, how?
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So we'll talk about that now. So in order to get to the park, you had to get a transportation ticket. And I don't have the actual pricing of that from 1971, but if you didn't purchase that, you could pay. I believe you could pay on board. Is that correct, Hal? I think you could.
No, I think you had to have the ticket.
Did you have to have the hard ticket?
It was either a quarter or 50 cents. I can't remember.
Okay, so relatively inexpensive.
Off the top of my head, yeah.
And that would allow you to take the monorail or the ferry boat over, and would get you there. So then you had your general admission work. Now, if you really wanted to splurge for an extra $1, they would give you the 7 adventure book, and that contained a single A ticket, a single B ticket, a single C ticket, 2 D tickets, and 2 E tickets. So that meant you could only really do 7 attractions for an extra $1, which isn't bad when you consider that an E ticket alone was 80 cents back then, right? So you got a deal.
And to be honest, that was an entire day.
Yeah.
It would take you all day pretty much to go through those 7 adventures.
Right.
That's with standing in line and everything, and
no fast passes. You
walk, and they close at 6 or 7.
Right,
so.
and you saw the pace at which people walk in our films, right? It's just
moseying along.
It's called a park. Most of the time, they were parking themselves. They were.
Now, I'd like to throw this. What did you say was 80 cents an e-ticket?
If you wanted to go buy an additional
just a
ticket,
separate.
Yeah, an A ticket was 10 cents, a B was 25, 50 cents for C, 75 cents for D, and an E ticket was actually, this is again confusing, 80 cents for juniors, 90 cents for adults, just to confuse you at that point.
And that's the thing. I feel like I'm gonna pull this up a few times. An e-ticket in today's money is almost $6.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's you throw it out there. I'm just thinking all right, if I want to go ride Space Mountain again, or it wasn't open, but whatever, $6 you got to throw out for that, and that's okay. But it's interesting when you start thinking about the people that go on it 30 times in a day and that whole thing. It's
right.
Oh, and I don't know if Todd's going to get into this, but that was a very deliberate thing. I mean, one of the reasons that attractions stayed around as long as they did or got fixed or whatever is because these were not considered cost centers at the time.
Right.
These are profit centers. So, when there were problems with Space Mountain and the tracks were hurting people's back, they could literally look and say, oh, we're making $2 million a year off of this because we know that people are spending so many e-tickets. So let's invest the money to fix the track because we want people to be coming back here because this is a moneymaker.
Right. There was a reason for those physical turnstiles that you went through, the old padded ones. The only one that exists today, I think there's 2. I take that back. I believe there's 2 turnstiles that still exist today. One escapes me, but one is the People Mover is definitely one of them, unless they've removed it since my last visit. And I want to say there was one other one recently.
I kind of remember walking through one of Pirates.
There was an electronic one.
Yeah, they almost have that same.
Yeah, they have
feeling,
the infrared one.
Yeah,
the infrared ones were out. Yeah, the physical one.
And I do remember hearing, this is an aside, but you're talking about the budgets of it justifying after the fact how Tony Baxter on the Season Pass podcast talking about the Indiana Jones attraction when they built it. they based their budgets on projected number of attendance of the turnstile clicks. And he talked about 1 or 2 scenes and features that were deleted from the budget when he built it. And it was all based on, we'll use the number, 3 million clicks or whatever per. And he's like, they ended up that first year having like 3.8 million clicks. We could have had the whole thing if they just would have given them the budget, like based on the clicks that they actually had versus what they projected.
It's just crazy to me that this is like, we'll keep moving here, but it's crazy to me that there's such a dollar amount tied to your debt. I mean, now it is still, but like, I mean, I put this in. It's roughly $3 for your monorail ride over to the Magic Kingdom. Yep. It's like, and then it's like, all right, I want to ride this. It costs this much. This much. Whereas now, people complain about the overall cost of a ticket, but it covers everything.
It covers everything, and our listeners should really think about that because you go there for a couple of days, you're spending $75 to $90 a day each. If you get a multi-day ticket, comparatively to a ball game. To where you get a few hours for an entire day, or a theater, for an entire day of entertainment, it's still a pretty good deal. So, what do we have here? We also have adventure books. This is where it gets a little crazy. And going back to your point, Hal, too, about the cast members, that those turnstiles were really important because you wouldn't expect them to save every single ticket stub and count them at the end of the day. They just ripped them, they took them, they collected them, they threw them into the garbage, right? There's no such thing as recycling.
If you gave an e-ticket, did they drop them somewhere or did they just trash them? Is that what you're saying? They end up in a can, or
was
it like a little...
trashed them because you were going through the turnstile that got you the clicks, the numbers.
There was a box, I think, that probably had a lock on it that they would go into. They didn't go into a trash.
Right. They didn't walk over to but what I'm saying is that they were trash. They weren't, as far as we know, they weren't utilized for any type of calculation. They were utilizing the turnstiles for that.
Interesting. Okay.
So you also could get a 7 adventure book, a 7 adventure Magic Key ticket book, which was for Magic Kingdom Club only, a 9 ride adventure book, which was Eastern only, or a 9 adventure Magic Key ticket book, or an 11 adventure book. And this is just the start of it in the first year.
And really, when you say adventure book, 11 things, that's just 11 ride tickets, basically.
Well, it's 11. It's various. We're going to talk a little bit later when the tickets became independent of A, B, C, D, E. It didn't matter. The ticket was valid for any attraction. So within the first year, we saw our first ticket increase, and the 7 and 11 ticket books went to 8 to 12. So tickets went up, but you got an extra attraction. And this is when we started to see additional tickets. And the reason I wanted to add these in here is because this was kind of funny. They had the World Cruise, the Sunset Cruise, the Sunset and Moonlight Cruise, the Cocktail Cruise, the Dinner Cruise, and the Oriental Adventure, which obviously would have been on the
Eastern Winds.
Eastern Winds, exactly. So a year later, all that's left of the World Cruises, all that's left of these cruises is the World Cruise and a Showboat Cruise. But in 1974, the Showboat goes away, and we get Steamboat Voyages, and the Moonlight Cruise comes back in 75. So we're really trying to figure out our ticket and our operations of, what's popular in the evening because, those first 5 there. So heading back to our Magic Kingdom Club, let's talk a little about that. No, so Magic Kingdom Club the dues per year were relatively inexpensive. Anybody could join. If you were a stockholder, you got the membership at no charge. I remember a lot of people would buy 1 share just to get the membership. And the Magic Kingdom Club, when you bought your tickets through that, would give you various discounts, or you'd get an extra adventure in your ticket book or something like that. In 1976, the Magic Kingdom Club books start to drop the A through E, and you start to get any ride tickets. However, only in the fall, winter, and spring. In summer, they would sell them as A through E's. So you can see what's starting to compile here. You've got tickets that are only valid in 3 seasons, but would they accept them in the summer? I don't know. I don't know how this would all go down. And that was only for Magic Kingdom Club members. So it's starting to get a little confusing. And by 79, there's general admission, the 8, the 10, the 12, the 2-day 16, the 2-day unlimited, and 3-day tickets. So you're at the gate. You don't even know what you want to buy at this point.
Will it get me in? How much was Magic Kingdom Club? Do you have a rough idea on that?
In what year? What were you thinking?
75.
So in 75 Magic Kingdom Club ticket, let's see
Like say you
here.
were to join I'm saying the dues, do you know?
Oh, to join, I don't recall. It was relatively inexpensive, but
Okay.
a Magic Kingdom Club ticket, to give you an idea, a comparison, if you an 8 adventure book, if you walked up, was $6.50 in 1975, and you could get an 8 adventure book for $6.25. So you saved a quarter by joining the Magic Kingdom Club.
That's I looked this up. A Disney share price back then is about $1.
There you go. So
I was going to say, I think in the 80s, I joined the Magic Kingdom Club at one of my employers. I think it was like $2 or something.
Oh, really?
It was
So they're pretty
relatively,
cheap.
yeah. Yeah, it was not super expensive. Now, one other thing I'll mention about the tickets is the A's through the A through E system. Like one of the other things that you see a lot is, as you look at the old tickets, is you'll see attractions shift from E to D or C to D. They kind of move around. And they would actually do this on purpose to kind of goose attendance. So if they saw that attendance at a particular attraction was down, they might lower the ticket from a D to a C ticket to encourage more people to go in. Or on the opposite side, it's like if a show was really popular, they might shift it from a C to a D to like get a little bit more profit off of it.
And let's also figure this out too, is that what it also did was it reduced the ticket books. It started to drain people's ticket. Oh, it's only a C now. Let's go in. Let's use the ticket here, right? So all of a sudden you're wiping the ticket book out, creating demand for additional ticket purchases. So it's
I also read that sometimes they would those adjustments that you would see between the number of adventures in a book were also used to kind of like to try to goose attendance at certain times. So if they notice attendance was failing at a particular time of the year, they might introduce a higher number of ticket books to try to incentivize people to come.
We should also mention why they transitioned away from the coupon books to the one price fits all, which was a new model when they rolled it out.
I've got
and
that coming
was
up
entirely
there,
due to Epcot.
Right.
And in Sully Sullivan's book, he talks about, at Epcot, where Magic Kingdom, those sponsorships were all negotiated and had a varying degrees. So if Kikkoman is sponsoring the Adventureland Veranda, their investment may be substantially less than Alamo Rent-A-Cars sponsoring whatever Alamo Rent-A-Cars used to sponsor. I forget something in Tomorrowland. It's escaping my memory at the moment.
Oh, they did the People Mover.
People
for a
Mover,
little
that's
while
right,
for some reason. Yeah.
Or anything. AAA had a car care sponsorship, but those packages were all different. In Epcot, it was a flat. We know it was $30 million. There was every single sponsor was on the hook for $30 million, and Sully said that they didn't want to explain why Kodak's $30 million bought them an e-ticket attraction while General Motors bought them a C-ticket attraction. So their solution to that was to do away with the coupon system altogether and make it one size fits all.
Right. And that's a perfect segue here into 1980. That was starting to be seen in the tickets. So 1980 was it doesn't bring us out of this funk of an array of options, right, if you will. But the A through E tickets are ditched in 1980. But the array of options are an 8, a 10, a 12, a 2-day 16, a 2 to 3 day passport, or a 3-day 16 adventure, or a 5-day passport. Again, standing at the ticket booth, can you imagine being swamped with these options?
Thank God we're not covering the British tickets, the European tickets, because those were all for like 2-week vacations.
That's right.
Completely different metrics, like 50 tickets and like crazy stuff.
Exactly.
They're still nuts.
So at this point, if you bought a passport, this is where you started to see the date stamped on the tickets. We've talked about this a number of times in our movie nights, the picture of me or the film of me wearing my ticket around my neck that was stamped with a date, and that basically gave you unlimited, because at this point, while they got rid of A through E, you still had these adventure key tickets that could get you into any attraction. So you had a mix of people in the park. You had people that were on the ticket books, and you had people that had these passports. By the end of 81, most of the individual tickets had been phased out, but you could still get a 12 adventure or an all-in-one passport type tickets. So they're all, let's see here. So this is interesting here. And this is one of the first times that they sold a souvenir ticket. We all know this one well, right? It comes in a very, very silver envelope. Hal's got one there. Okay, look
yes.
at that. Now, is that used, Hal, or is that unused?
This one is used.
It is
because
used, okay.
This is the one that my dad bought through the Magic Kingdom Club from AT&T in order to get us into Epcot.
Perfect. So they were selling for $30, $24 and $18, respectively, for adult, junior, and child. We're talking about the Epcot Souvenir Special Edition tickets. You got 3 days for $30, $24, and $18, where the 3-day tickets were currently selling at $31.50, $29, and $23.75. So saved you a fair amount on juniors. You saved about $1.50 on yourself. So there's a little stub attached, which you would bring up to the ticket counter and redeem it at any time. Even up until now, if you still have one of these, you could redeem it for a 3-day ticket.
So it was $30 for 3 days?
$30 for 3 days.
Wow.
Which was outrageous to people in that day.
Yep.
Well, that's equivalent of $85 nowadays.
$85. There you go.
Still.
And it was cheaper than the 3-day ticket at the time, because at the time it was $31.50. So when Epcot opens, what do you guys think we get for the very first time on these tickets?
A giant silver ball.
Home of the big. So that's, you know what? You got to go with that. We got our first barcodes are started to put on there, but not specifically for tracking of who is going in and out, more so for what the value of the ticket is and selling it like a UPC type. They may have even been serial numbered, but they're not tracked.
So here's
the
question.
red number at the bottom.
I can tell you these these commemorative passports are serial numbered.
They are serial numbered. Yep,
Yeah, the
with
stub
silver.
and the ticket is the same, has
Yep.
to match.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And it's funny, on the back it says, Epcot Center is scheduled to open October 1st, 1982. The attached voucher may be presented at any Walt Disney World Epcot Center or Magic Kingdom ticket booth following the Epcot Center opening. And they're copyright 1981.
81, there we go. So
they were hedging their bets just in case it didn't make
this
it.
is a great, let's be honest, this is a great way for them to sack some money away, right? I mean, if you have one today and you turn it in, Disney kind of lost out, but...
Here's a question. When you compare when Epcot opened, it was the future and all this stuff, was the gate where you went through with that ticket any different than Magic Kingdom? Like, was there some major advance, like they were ready to scan a barcode or, do something different? Just look the same.
We'll talk about that. When Epcot opened, it was the barcoded tickets. They didn't scan the tickets. This is the first year that annual passports became available, but it was the paper ticket with the hand stamp that would still stamp on there, and that's what Epcot opened with. They did try some mag stripes too in the early '80s too that didn't go over well, but we'll talk about those in a little second here. So APs are available. They started to sell 3, 4, and 6 day passports with park hopping. That was a big thing. Like, oh, buy it. You can go to the Magic Kingdom. You can go to Epcot. But still in 1982, they're still selling some 8 and 10 adventure tickets for the Magic Kingdom that ended in June 82 in preparation for the Epcot opening. So they phased those out just before, almost like a just-in-time delivery there. So which is kind of neat.
Yeah. That's nice. The one thing I really liked about the old ticket system was if you didn't use all your tickets on one trip, you could take them with you and use them again the next year.
Absolutely.
So you could, ride some other things. It seems like I always ended up with a couple of A's and a couple of B's left over.
Yeah.
After all of our vacations. But it was, I don't know, I always remember going into my dad's upper drawer and opening it up, and you would see the Disney tickets that we had left over sitting in there. Because he always kept them there so that way they didn't get thrown away.
I need to bring down a couple of my A, B, C, D, E's and go over to, guest services and just see what the value is that because there is a value, but I think it's pretty low.
That's out there, but it is literally nickels
worthless.
And dimes.
You're not gonna get a ticket for it. You're gonna get a couple bucks.
You can't buy a pickle with it.
Exactly. So, all right. So 1984 is a big year for tickets. What change do you think happens?
Horizons.
No. We are taking juniors. Juniors are eliminated. So we have.
Oh man.
Yeah. So there's no more junior tickets in 1984. A child is moved from the 3 to 11 category to 3 through 12. And then 3 years later, in 1987, they changed it again, and that's when the child becomes 3 through 9, which is where it remains as today. So
Yep. That
kind of
was
interesting there.
I was 9 for a couple extra years, I feel like.
Yeah, I believe some kids are perpetually 3 until they look the age.
It's amazing how you become an adult at 10 years old now.
Mm-hmm. No longer a junior. You're just as expensive as the 89-year-old coming through the turnstiles.
Get a job, kid.
Now, I know we're going fast through a lot of these tickets. You need to go through our not only the allears.net ticket archive, our own pictures of tickets to really kind of get an idea. There are so many variations over the years. We're just kind of scratching the surface here of the type of tickets. But
I'd like to add that when I was there that one time, and I this is the holy grail to me. I had an old ticket, and I was seeing if it was worth something, and they had this binder back at the Magic Kingdom, and I'm I would love to just flip through that and see. I mean, because she's going through page by page, and I was seeing ones that I'd see on our site, from like 20 feet away. I'm like, oh, what was that? And then it just goes to the next, and they're on like clear little dust jacket type things. And
they do have photos of all of them.
I saw that binder just last year when I converted it to, actually the day Hal and I were there. We converted a ticket.
You're so like, whoa, what? I don't want to take any pictures. I'll give it back to you. Just let me look, just for fun. But
yeah. So before we get into Disney MGM opening, I think for me this was kind of the heyday of the park hopping ability, the hand stamp ticket, the re-entry ultraviolet light. This is really 83 through 89, right? You've all seen these tickets before that say Passport on them. There are a variety of colors. Probably the most famous one is the is kind of a teal color with the Epcot and Magic Kingdom. Or the castle on it. There's yellow ones, there's orange ones, and they were colored on the day. The 5-day was a blue, the 1 day was a teal, the 3-day was kind of tealish, the 3-day they produce them in all different colors, all over the place. But I know some people figured out how to wash these tickets, is my understanding as well. That there was a way on certain inks that they were using that people would start to wash the tickets, and by washing, just like Catch Me If You Can, right, gentlemen. Frank Abagnale Jr.,
DiCaprio.
Right? Well, it was Frank Abagnale, but yeah, with Leonardo DiCaprio. Just washing checks, washing
Tom
the
Hanks
value
catch
off.
them if they were trying to use the tickets?
He might have been down there, yes.
At the TWA terminal.
But a number of people figured out that you could go through the turnstiles, get it stamped, wash it, or put a protective layer over the date, and then peel it off. I don't know how long it took Disney to catch on to this because the stamps really did continue. We're going to talk about when they faded away.
Now, JT, on your World Passport that you have, how many days is yours? 5. So look at the upper corner and tell me what the shape of your upper right-hand corner is.
Rounded.
Okay, so I have a 3-day World Passport, and mine has like 3 little bumps in it. And I noticed that the edges, as probably a thing to stop counterfeiting, there's a different die cut on the different levels of days of tickets on these things.
Oh,
just
wow.
because it was probably, if you're a cast member and you have a little trick with this, you probably grabbed one, and it was like you knew right away it was fake if it didn't have the right cut.
I think the 1 day had a square edge, and then the 3-day had the 3 bumps, and then the 5-day had the completely rounded
5-day has
edge.
and the 4-day has a double bump.
Or was this for blind people? Let's be honest. I mean, this is
that's
driven
true.
like a blind cast member or a blind person that's visiting. They could discern their tickets between the stack and feel them. What year does yours say, How, on the back?
Mine is from 1988, and it says copyright 1986.
Well, mine says copyright 88, and I thought this was interesting, being 88. Now, I don't know what year it was purchased, but it says not valid for admission to the Disney MGM Studios. And it's a 5-day World Passport, but you couldn't use it throughout the whole world.
So
what year was
I remember
it says 88 on it, and I mean the first stamp I think was 88.
Yeah, because the official all 3 parks passport was not introduced until 1989 after Disney MGM Studios opened up.
That's interesting though. They felt the need to print on this ticket. Don't even try to come over if you save it a year.
If you save it, yeah.
So I believe when I went to MGM on opening day, I believe I had a multi-day ticket, and I actually had to turn it in for a new multi-day ticket.
I remember you telling us
in order to go in that morning.
And I've seen some commemorative MGM, similar to the Epcot, that big rectangle.
I have a little tiny one.
Okay, like there's been
It's
some
like a
that
one
look-
day.
I don't know if you've seen those.
Yes.
They're in like an envelope type thing.
Yep.
Same thing. It's almost like they just kept the same idea 8 years later.
Yeah. And how I just looked at the 6-day passport is completely cut at a 45-degree angle.
Oh.
And there actually is a
Nice.
5-day. Yeah, the 5-day has the curve. So I think you're onto something.
What's
yeah?
crazy to me though is it still blows my mind. Now this says purchase price $107 printed on the back officially. I don't know what days the one dangling on your neck, Todd, and your gold key trip was, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the equivalent of. I mean, can you imagine taking an annual pass that, if lost, can be used elsewhere and just hanging it on your 8-year-old's neck?
Oh yeah. Hold on, I got it right here.
And
me
it's
see if
made
it
it to
has a-
2020. That's awesome.
Okay, it's got the price on it. Yep.
Does it still smell like lobster?
That was before. this was before I knew what lobster was. So the dates were 10/14, 10/16, and 10-something, 1980. 3-day passport amid one child, 1754, 71 cents tax, 1825 total. But yeah,
What year was that?
It was 1980.
1980.
1980.
I can tell you, JT, I had a one day like that one time, and I was terrified that I would lose it over the course of the day on the string hanging on my neck.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
can
like,
imagine.
I'd never spent a more frightening day in the Magic Kingdom than that one.
Whenever we would do the splurge, like, you know, it was like, I remember, you know, growing up, it'd be like, all right, we're going to do one day, we're going to go to Magic Kingdom. Boom. Surprise, you're going here this morning. We buy a one-day ticket. Then as we got a little older, it would be like 2 or 3 days. And if we had a day left over on the ticket, so say we'd use the one day, it was always the move, like, hand those to your father right now. And he'd put them in his wallet or his pocket. It was never like, you know, it just, you went through the gate and it was like, here, take this. I don't want anything to do with it. I want it out of my hands.
We still do that with our kids.
Yeah, it's
immediately.
smart. I mean,
yeah.
you're like, just give me the magic band. I'll take it. Just
So, I mean, I think you guys agree. Those are probably the most popular tickets, right, that we're talking about here, these multicolored ones. So they did do an experiment in 1986 with Magstripe, and there's a lot of people. There was one that Magic Kingdom that was orange and brown, and then the Epcot Center one was a teal and purple, and it would digitally print how much you paid for the ticket, where you purchased it, and then what emissions were used. But what's interesting is that completely failed. It was ahead of its time. There's not a lot of history on these, but how
was
do you
it
know?
a beta test though, for like the future room keys and all that? You know, were they like, can we put this data in the turnstile?
Yeah, I have no idea. What's interesting is it would have prevented, you know, because when we talk about the next ticket was a little bit better, but I'm assuming that the technologies just didn't prove secure enough, or just didn't work out, or was too costly, because with a dot matrix print, you'd put the ticket through multiple times. So if you had a 5-day ticket, it would have to go through the reader 5 times, and each time would have to print what park you went to. So it would print an M for Magic Kingdom or an E for Epcot. And then, you know, if you had 5 E's and it said in the box that it was number of missions was 5, you were done. So I can only think that it was reading and writing. I mean, this is not a time at computers where you would have reading or, you know, Magstripe readers and writers. It probably wasn't encrypted. So I don't know why that one failed specifically. It's something we need to do some research on, because in 1989, Disney MGM opens up. It's the first time we get the all 3 parks passport, 1, 3, 4, and 5 days. And we also get a commemorative passport. Now, remember when Epcot opened up, we had it was 30 days. We get a 4-day passport now for $100. So 3 days for 30, 4 days for 100. It's gone up considerably.
$209 in today's money.
There you go. In 1990, so a year later, the 3-day is canned, but now you can get a 4 or 5 all 3 parks passport or a super pass. And hold on to your butts, because this is going to get really confusing over the next couple of years here.
What's the super pass get you?
The super pass is 3 times the size of a regular ticket. You have
this
to
is that
fold
long
it.
one with the extra.
I actually have
There
one
it
for
is.
some
He's
reason.
got it right
Oh
there.
yeah, look at that. I've seen it 5 days. Yeah.
So we still have the manual stamp, but what you got is one admission to Pleasure Island, Typhoon Lagoon, River Country, or Discovery Island.
So you had to pick
that
one of
was
those
the super.
4.
You had to pick one of those 4.
Got it.
That wasn't enough. Because we haven't confused you yet. We want to add, a year later, we want to add to the complexity. So we offer a 4-day, 3 parks passport, the 5-day Super Pass Plus, and the 5-day Super Duper Pass.
Super duper. Is that
Super
top tier
duper.
now? Cadillac
Yeah,
It's got
trip?
right.
banana. It's got banana.
Exactly. I think
What
this was
does
the
that cost for the super duper in 1990?
1990, the Super Duper. Let's check here.
Honey, we're doing it big this year. I got 4 super dupers.
Yep. It was 91. The Super Duper was passed. An adult was 170 for the 5-day Super Duper.
That was $323 in today's money.
Yep. So for 5 days.
170 bones.
I think this was the hype of ridiculous. The height of the ridiculous. It gets a little crazier here. So
What made it super duper over House Super Pass?
that's exactly. I'm glad you asked because
I mean, weren't we out of things at that point? Except
no,
like a
no, we weren't out of
or
things because you might want to do all those things again.
Oh.
So instead of one visit to Pleasure Island, Typhoon Lagoon, River Country, Discovery Island, you could go. No, not even 2. Unlimited. Unlimited visits.
What?
Yeah.
I could go to River Country every day.
And I believe at that time I'd have to look and find a Super Duper pass. My understanding was that it was valid for a 10-day period so that you would get a 5-day park. So you really could spend 10 straight days on that ticket, which was pretty valuable.
So I know this is out there, but like, were any of these things we're talking about, was there an expiration date on anything at this point?
So that's the interesting thing is that at this point there were no expiration dates on any of these. They did start to come around this point in the early 90s. Specialty tickets and different things that came out
Yeah, a lot
started
of
to have it up.
seasonal
Yeah.
deals and stuff like that they would offer. That
But
Did
you're
the super
really
duper unlimited Pleasure Island ticket have an expiration date?
I would have to check one based on the years. I don't recall, but it was another Big Mama ticket. I mean, that thing was, again, you had to fold it in half.
Yeah, but it's also worth mentioning, part of the Eisner, the Disney decade, that whole 84 to 94 stretch. I mean, there were new things opening every year, not just resorts, but like the golf court, like the miniature golf courses and things like that,
Yeah,
the water parks that
water
eventually
parks.
came online.
And this is the time period that they had a slogan, what a year to be here, and all these different, they were trying to get you
a
down.
park and the MGM Studios, and so like there just seemed like every time you turned around there was some new brand. Downtown Disney's tripling in size, and this is happening, that's
A
happening.
reason to go every year.
There was
Exactly.
There was. It was a completely different experience every year.
So in 1992, we have another big year. The hand stamps are finally going away, and we now have tickets that the machine can read, and it punches out a corner. Well, actually, I shouldn't even say it reads. It kind of does read. Punches out of a corner of a ticket over the days. So if you had a 5-day ticket, on the bottom left-hand corner, it would say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you put it in for the first time, the computer and the machine would punch out 5 so that you knew you had 4 days remaining, and then it would ink stamp the date approximately in the right area on the ticket of the date of where it should go. So no expirations.
I'm looking at
this
mine, and
point.
I can confirm.
You can. There you go.
Yeah.
And the 4-day at that point also got the Super Duper treatment. And again, remember, folks, I am just scratching on the basic tickets. There were all sorts of other different tickets out there, stuff. So, but that's really when they started getting into the point that it's not only the date, but we're going to tear off a little piece of the ticket to ensure that nobody is faking us out. In 1993, we get the Around the World 5-day pass. What do you think the Around the World pass is?
I would assume
If you weren't
it took
already
you
confused.
around the world, and I don't know where. I feel like we've done it all with the Super Duper. I mean,
Well, the Super Duper's about to change, so hold on to your butts. The Around the World pass was 3 parks, and you had to go to the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Disney MGM Studios, and then you could go to any other 2. So you could visit something twice or something 3 times.
Gosh, imagine how many people went to Magic Kingdom that second time. They're like, no, you got to go hit Epcot first before you.
I don't know
swing
what
back.
if the order was really dictated, but it doesn't really.
Oh,
say.
okay.
And in 1990,
wrong park.
that's right.
You haven't completed the world yet. You can't come back.
Can't come back.
Have you stamped your passport, sir?
That's In 1994, the Super and Super Duper passes are now only sold to resort guests, and for day guests, we add the 4-day value pass, a 3-day and then a 1-day. So, and then in 94, we have more confusion. We get the value pass for the general public, the Super Pass for resort guests, the Park Hopper for off-site day guests only, and for other guests only, you can get the length of stay passes introduced, which ranged from $83 for a 2-day or to 228 days for a 7-day ticket. So, I mean, the variety, it's no wonder that, Disney's got to book the size of the Encyclopedia Britannica to figure these tickets out. It was crazy.
And it was probably all changing with what was happening, too. They'd see things that, so-and-so's counterfeiting this one, so we got to do this. Yep. And, people are hanging on to that one, so we got to...
And I think they were pretty slow to catch up. I mean, a lot of people weren't faking them out. They were using their tickets up. They were buying. What does Disney want you to do? They want you to buy. At this point, they want you to buy the maximum number of days that you could use up completely, right? And you ever look? There's never a 2-day ticket. They're smart, right? They've never sold a 2-day ticket because once the Epcot opened, there was never a 2-day ticket because what they want you to do, they wanted you to buy 2 1-days. They're going to make more money off of you that way. So what's better than having you in the park for 2 days? If you're going to do it, fine. We'll nail you twice with 2 1-day tickets. Otherwise, come for 3 days. I'm going to make more money off of you buying popcorn and other crap for the kids.
Or you buy the 3 and you only plan on going 2 and you lose that last day.
Exactly, because it's a better deal. I'll just throw it away. And that's why these things are sitting in drawers, We have one more commemorative ticket. Has nothing to do with the park. Pocahontas commemorative ticket. $47.70, got a 1-day pass or $50 towards another ticket. So, and our last stop here, because I wanted to end.
Could you trade that ticket?
You could trade it in for $50
because they like to trade. There was
I see what you
trade
did.
Amongst the Native Americans.
That's right.
They like to trade.
So we're at the 25-year mark.
There was one more commemorative ticket in 1994.
Was it really?
Yes.
Because I don't have it here. What is it?
The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror ticket.
I forgot about that
Does
one.
it have a dropping mechanism? Is it open that up? I want to see this.
So here you go. When you open it up, it has a whole pop-up
book,
of the inside of the Tower of Terror, or the outside of the Tower of Terror there. So you bought this before the Tower of Terror opened, and you could get it. It was a 1-day ticket. It was $45 plus tax.
94, right?
Yeah, 1994.
So Pocahontas, she was a little more expensive.
And then, so what was? Oh, remember? I can't remember if it's on here, but the deal was when you got this, you got to go on like a little tour, and you got to sign a guest book at the Tower of Terror. For if you purchase this. So
if you haven't already inserted Tower of Terror Twilight Zone music in here, Todd, I'm going to be annoyed.
Yeah, and I believe you also got a watch with this as well.
Ooh. Do you have the watch?
It's part of like a $80 pack. I do somewhere, yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
I want, next time we're there, I want to ride Tower of Terror with you while you wear the watch. Because I feel like that hasn't ever happened in 20 years.
I have a personal ticket story. My first trip without my parents. 3 friends from high school, 1995. We drove down from Pennsylvania and stayed in a cheap hotel and ate cheap food all week and bought our went to both Universal, first trip to Universal, and Walt Disney World. And that was that brief period of time, which you'll talk about, when Disney World used to take a little light camera and point it at your face and then print it on the ticket, on the multi-day ticket. So I had this ticket with my face on it. And I think it was a 4-day park hopper. And as was par for the course with trips back then, for some reason, probably because I gorged myself, I got violently ill one day. And so my friends went to the park, and I stayed in the hotel writhing in pain while the room housekeeper came in to clean the room. And I stayed in the Wilson World Hotel while they went to Epcot or the Magic Kingdom, wherever they went. Rob will end up emailing us and saying, here's where we went that day. So when we came home from that trip, there was a day left on the pass, unlike my friends who had all used theirs. So it got tucked into my room and lived there for many years. My mother is a notorious thrower-outer. Throughout our entire lives, anything she thought you no longer needed, she chucked. She still is to this day. And my mom thought it would be at some point when she decided my room required her to clean it, tossed that ticket. So part of it was just in a pile of junk, I guess. And she decided, this is junk, Brian doesn't need it, and threw it out with a bunch of other stuff. So that 1 day pass and that ticket have been lost to history thanks to Dorothy Miles' dedicated non-attachment to anything.
How did this come about? Were you like planning a trip and you're looking and you go, Ma, where's my ticket? Or like how
every now and then you'd come home.
Oh, and it was done.
There was like the whirlwind would go through.
Yep, that's a mom.
And
move.
you don't think like, hey, I should look for that ticket, like, because there were other things she probably threw out that you.
Sure.
And on the flip side, as a teen or a young man, you're like, the room's clean. Like I'm not going to complain. I wish you hadn't done that, but hey, the room's sparkling clean. I can live with it. And
what year was this, Brian?
The ticket was from 95.
95. Okay.
The clean out was probably within a year or two after that.
Gotcha.
The clean out, the great clean out.
In fact, it probably wasn't that long because I had moved out the following year. So it had to have been within, a year of the trip. But, she's just probably with a pile of other stuff. The funny thing is so much other stuff from that trip survived. I still have a baggie. A bag from Universal. It has
you should have put
maps.
it in the baggie.
It has park maps and Bates Motel matches that I got at the souvenir shop and the Universal and stuff I still have. And that ticket is lost to history.
I would be willing to bet that there is a good percentage of our listeners who have spent part of their life trying to buy back things that their parents threw out from their collection at one time or another.
Whether it's toys or anything.
Oh, that's probably a big chunk of eBay.
I will also posit this. Having engaged in that behavior, I think you would all agree it's satisfying and it gets there and you get it in the mail. And that first day, you're like, this is so cool and look at this. And by the second or third day,
You're like,
it's like, what did I buy this for? It totally loses its luster. Like, you're just like, what am I going to do with this piece of junk? Like, what do I have this for?
It's almost like the memory died with it, the throwaway. And it comes back in like a physical, like, I've got it again. Then you're like, what am I going to do with this? Like, what, it wasn't sitting on a shelf again, which my mom should have.
So I only did this to 25 years, but I figured I'd go one more year because 96 was really kind of another monumental year. This is when all the stamped tickets went away. The mag stripe is introduced, and that's really when you got into these very generic tickets where, Dad, why did mine print with Mickey on it? I wanted Pluto, and they were all
purple
genericized.
and yellow.
Yeah, exactly. Very bold, very 90s.
Well, the other move, too, is this is when they also just attached them to your resort ID card, like in the you know what I mean, the mag stripe
that gave them that ability to put it all into one.
So if you stayed there, it was kind of like an all-in-one stop. You could charge, you could do all that stuff.
Exactly.
I think.
Exactly. So that's our little bit of ticket history. Again, allears.net as well as our site retrowdeb.com. Go to our photo archive, dig into the tickets there. We've got tons of them scanned, both front and back, that we've done over the years. We've got more to put in there.
And if you have something weird, send it to us. We want to see that.
Yeah. Any oddball tickets you don't see up there, let us know. But
we didn't even get into the annual passes.
No, I wasn't about to scratch the surface on that. So, well, let's jump into some ephemera. As we mentioned earlier, ephemera is anything that that you didn't pay for, non-souvenirs, paper material. I've got a whole bunch of things splayed out here. We've got some great stuff. I'm going to start with what our listeners sent in because I think these are great. And again, all these will be scanned, and all the things that we were sent will be put into the show notes or put in in our ephemera area. We've got a great ephemera area on the website. Tons of stuff in there. So this is Lucy Elborn sent in. This is pretty cool, guys. I don't know if you saw this one. We have talked about multiple times. It's on our map, the Pirates Point excursion. And she actually had the little brochure that she scanned in from the Pirates Point excursion, which is really cool. And this one's later because it has more of the newer font of the Polynesian Resort. And she also has her Neverland Club Oath of Allegiance from 1989. So do we all want to take the pledge tonight?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. All right. Yeah.
Lucy pledged allegiance to Peter Pan.
Yeah, she did. She did.
I want to take it, Thomas.
You want to take it? Okay.
I'll read it to both of you. You guys can both take it. Neverland Club oath of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to Peter Pan and the land of never ever, to stay young in mind, in deed, in spirit, to grow old and grouchy never.
Wow. And
So say us all.
And just so you know, Lucy, according to this, is still in good standing of the Neverland Club. So congratulations,
fantastic.
Lucy. All right. We also had Ian Yakello send in this awesome bumper sticker, which
Love that.
I printed these out in black and white, but it's a great one with Mickey and Goofy, Minnie and Pluto,
And
Walt
balloons.
Disney World. Yeah, with balloons. Claudia had sent in a whole variety of things, and this is where you get into some of the weird tickets that we've seen over the year. This was a complimentary Discovery Island excursion and Pleasure Island experience ticket, which I think we have a couple of the actual ones floating here in our archives. And another odd ticket. This is the Cast Holiday Celebration, where you had a pretty good deal here. Free popcorn or free soft drink. Tear it off the top. 50% off a meal at Disney parks. 50% off a meal at Disney resorts. And then you got to admit one guest to Walt Disney World with you, valid for 19 days in 1995. So,
I'd love to see. There's got to be fine print on the back that says you can't use that somewhere. Like there can't be 50% off of what's the top resort restaurant 95.
Yeah, well, let's see. Must be presented with one-day park hopper pass below, not valid after 7 p.m. Well, yeah, I don't have the back, so we'd have to.
Yeah.
But we should note that the way that used to work was the first 20 or so years of the park's operation, there was a night where they would close everything and the Magic Kingdom would be open to staff for their Christmas party for everyone that worked there, and all of the managers and executives would staff all of the rides and the food service locations and everything, and it was a totally free night for the Disney employees down there. And then as you had multiple parks and it got bigger, in fact, that the Ron Schneider, where he voiced the Big Bad Wolf with that Captain EO skit that he shared with us, that was for the cast Christmas party, which was closed to the public. But sometime in the 90s, I think, late 80s, early 90s, they stopped doing that. And in lieu of that, they started handing out those passes to employees that gave them a package of admissions and discounts and treats and things like that.
December 1st through December 19th, 1995.
Yep. So Joe Lanza sent in this pretty cool one. This is a customized MetLife Good News Gazette from Orlando, November 14th, 1997. The headline reads, "The Lanza family visits Walt Disney World." So they would print these out for you with your own customized name on it. And again, I love this. The weather and news from Willard Scott. He was still a big thing back then, as he would, there he is. Look at that.
So
Open
MetLife
Maelstrom
sponsored the Wonders of Life Pavilion, and that opened in 89, right? I think it was 89.
Yep.
And I will tell you, Todd, you probably remember this from the boardwalk back in the 80s. And things like with the advent of laser printers and dot matrix and personal computers, they would sell you on the boardwalk like the day you were born, and they would print
Hallmark
out.
did it. Remember
it was
that?
like a little printout that would have like the headlines from the day you were
the
born.
birthday times.
Or they would drop your name into something, and now it's like you see it when you exit Imagination and you can get your face on the cover of Time or whatever. But back then it was very rudimentary. And it was always like, it was like, oh my goodness, look, it's a newspaper headline with my last name in it.
That was your souvenir from the trip.
That's right.
Oh, it was just and you pay like $4 for it.
Yeah. Hallmark had a big one called the Birthday Times, I think it was, where you can who you share a birthday with and stuff too. Yeah.
Joe also shared this Fort Wilderness night activities.
Got that one here.
It's the Fort Wilderness Brown, we'll say, it's meant to look old, and it is clearly done on like a typewriter. I don't know what year this was, but I mean, you can tell. In Fort Wilderness is always like this. Like in a lot of resorts, that changes weekly or monthly, the movies and things like that. So it's like typed out, but you can see, which he admits, he thinks they took it or stole it from where there's little info boards and stuff at the restrooms and the comfort stations. The pushpin holders still are on this paper he scanned in. It's pretty cool.
How you were interested in this one. This comes from Dave Smith. He sent us a couple different things. He sent us a great entertainment program, Epcot Center. 1991. It's all in green. It's got map of the. But he also sent us. You wanted to talk about this. The transportation ticket. We mentioned it earlier. This one's from 1991. $2.50. Why are we still having transportation tickets this late in the history of Walt Disney World?
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
It's strange.
So we talked in a couple episodes ago about how there was a point in time where you still had to pay if you wanted to take the bus system around the resorts if you weren't a resort guest. So I was really surprised to see that it was what was that, 1991?
September 29th, 1991, $2.50.
Yeah, $2.50.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yes.
I never remember getting a bus and anybody ever saying, show me your resort ID. Now, we should be clear to let people know that when you checked in the 70s and 80s, your admission ticket was separate from your resort ID. They would print you a little brown card, another ephemera piece we could talk about, and that was your resort ID. So if you flash that, the bus, there you go, JT's got one there. You flash that would get. So is this something, this was just a good doobie that was like, yeah, I'll pay the $2.50? And
well, no, I mean, I certainly remember having to show.
Do you?
See, I never
show my
remember
resort
anybody
card.
asking me.
I mean, I don't know if that was just on an abundance
They
of
didn't
caution,
trust
but I
the
always
Bowers
showed my
family. That was the. There was always the threat. It was always like, this is the year we heard they're checking stuff. You know, you can't just hop on the tram without the. And nobody ever. To this day, I've never been checked for.
Yeah, I mean, my personal experience, I think it was 87 or 88 that I skipped college one day and went to the Contemporary with some schoolmates, and we wanted to get on the monorail, and we had you still had to pay in order to ride the monorail, and the girl ended up letting us through, but without paying, but it was still I think that $2.50 or $2 at that time, maybe, in order to get on the monorail to go around. So
yeah, it's a generic Vacation Came into the World. This is from 82. It says guest name and your resort. That's typed in on a printer as an expiration date, and then it says this card identifies you as a guest in our resort hotels or the camp ground of Walt Disney World. Please remove it and carry it with you during your stay. So you were supposed to have this at all times.
And how we don't know back then in 91, was there a sign on the bus that says drivers carry no cash? You know,
there was exact change only.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But again, this is part of the fascinating thing where, I mean, it could still be set up that way, but you saw on these tickets that we have, even as far back as 71, it's like it says, this fee is being tendered for the Walt Disney World Transportation Company. And there was a separate, I don't know if it was a separate wholly owned subsidiary or how it worked, but that was legitimately a separate company that ran
This says
the TTC,
WED Transportation System Incorporated.
Yep.
Yeah, the parking lots, the monorails and the ferry boats, is that was a whole separate company. They got their money separately, and that's probably how they paid for the maintenance for all that stuff. And when they decided they needed new boats, there probably wasn't any question, because again, they knew exactly how much money they were making from that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to go beg, oh, hey, we need to pay for new monorails. It's they had the cash sitting there because they knew how much they made, and when they needed new monorails, they got new ones.
Interesting stuff. So cool. All right, our last one here from a listener, Dane Prade. This is great. Brian, you hinted on this earlier. They won a contest in Canada. He sent a scan of the front and back. So it says, one lucky Canadian family is going to win a fabulous vacation getaway to Walt Disney World. And, this is you have to moisten and affix in a token. Here, yes, you have to moisten and affix the yes token to this or no. He's got his official lucky draw sweepstake numbers. This is really cool. I mean, it's got this semi-official paperwork that came with it, with the castle in the background. And then here's the ad, which this was the May 1976 is when it closed, which is fantastic. So it's so cool that they won. I'd love to hear the story about winning and how it was delivered. I want to know if anybody came to them with a...
That's his $1,000 spending money.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
It was a lot of money back then.
Yes.
And they also...
I don't want to downplay it. It's a lot of money now, but... It was a lot of money back then.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
It was $5,000 now.
Yeah. I love the other thing he sent in, because this really shows kind of the customer service aspect of it that, in certain aspects Disney still does today. It was a cover, and inside the apologies card that they received when the Contemporary's hot water was being shut off for 12 hours. So let me read this to you. It says, A reminder, your hot water will be off from 8 p.m. Monday evening through late Tuesday afternoon. So you didn't get a morning shower. We appreciate your understanding during this interruption. Please accept this gift on behalf of our entire resort staff. Thank you. They received a massive double-layer box of deluxe chocolates with the card. He lost the box sometimes in the 90s. He did keep it. So you can't shower, but here in the hot Florida heat, have some chocolates that will melt, and you'll need a shower after.
It was funny when Dane sent that contest-winning stuff. He also sent a few photos from the trip, and one of the pictures from the trip was him doing his daily report for school about what I did on my trip today in their room at the Polynesian, and his mom sitting across the table from him, and there was a room service tray that had Coca-Cola and sweet vermouth on it. And I replied to him and I said, please assure me that your mother was not drinking Coke and sweet vermouth as her mixed drink. And he said, no, the Coke was for me and my dad. She enjoyed the sweet vermouth on the rocks. So there was no unapproved mixing going on there.
All right, so let's get into I'm going through my own personal ephemera here. Oh, look at this. Now, this is interesting. We just brought this up. We should have these scans. Check this out, guys. Disney's Polynesian Resort. It's got my grandfather's name on it, but instead of the signature, look what it's stamped.
Transportation only.
Transportation only, so you couldn't charge with that.
I've got a Fort Wilderness one here. See, it's a plastic one. It says Fort Wilderness only. And same thing. It's not valid for admission.
Right.
A little more durable than the paper one, though.
Magic Kingdom Club. Now, JT, you asked earlier about expirations on tickets. I just found that this is an all three parks passport, 4-day from 1989. What's interesting is that this has a one last day on it available, but they did stamp and expires on. They gave it 30 days from first use. So they did start doing that in the late 80s there, which is interesting. I got one of these guys. Check this out. Who remembers these?
I remember
that's
those
the old
well.
room key, right?
I do remember that.
Do you remember what they're called?
It's some weird technical name. Or
the Ving card or the Ving
cards, yes.
Ving key. Yeah, so this was a key this is pre-digital Magic Band.
It was all mechanical,
RFID.
right? Like you slid it in there and then it unlocked the door.
It was mechanical. I don't know specifically how they could program it, but your room key was a piece of plastic, a little smaller than a credit card. And holes that look random on it, and they would line up with pins in the lock that would allow you to go into the room. So, which was pretty neat.
Basically punch card technology, almost. But
exactly. Let's see what else we have in here. There's another resort card. Here's another Ving card. Boy, Yes, I stayed there a lot during the Ving era.
What was the Ving era? Late 80s?
It's got the recycle on it, so it's gotta be
Jiminy Cricket recycle or just recycle?
No, it's got the Mickey head recycle on it. And then before they did the Mickey head key, where'd the other Ving card go? They had these here, which were just generic. That were
look at that.
Just an arrow on it before they had their own printed on it. So wrestling through all this paper here. This is another neat one. I think we got this. This is a really rare Polynesian luau. I call it the NBA logo. Doesn't it look like the NBA?
It does. That's your Polynesian
luau? Your Polynesian luau, and on the inside it gives you a nice aloha. Great color. This one's in fantastic condition. This is from...
I see a shirt out of that one.
75. That would be a nice shirt, huh?
Like a nice whole thing.
Yeah. So it explains what's going on. We have a menu, Brian. Would you like to hear it?
The Polynesian menu?
Yeah, this is served banquet style.
I would love to know what's being served up at the Polynesian luau.
Shrimp Hawaiian.
That's also known as sweet and sour shrimp.
There we go. Beef tomato.
Beef steak tomato, I'm guessing?
I'm guessing, yeah. Barbecue ribs.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken doing, yeah. Fried rice. Polynesian vegetables. Served in a fresh pineapple half is passion fruit ice cream.
Delicious. Sounds like a good show.
Yeah, I got this here too. Again, these are all scanned in on our ephemera page. This is my grandfather had a handicap license plate. He had a placard, a New Jersey placard, and they'd give him this to put in the window. An odd, just a little H, date stamped on the back. And here's another one that I love too.
Oh, yeah.
The transportation route card with the flag colors. So I'm going to do a little quiz. Let's see how many Hal remembers. Let's see how well he... So...
I think the answer is going to be 0.
No, you should remember because they're still used today. So this is from 1993 when Walt Disney World, before they had the automated marquees on some of the buses, the buses would have colored flags and the boats would have colored flags. And you would be able to identify their destinations by that. So, for instance, this doesn't get confusing. If you were staying at Port Orleans, Dixie Landings, and you wanted to go to the Magic Kingdom, you would have to catch the pink flag with a green stripe with MK on it. But if you wanted to go to Epcot, you'd have to get the pink flag with the green stripe with EC on it because they ran out of colors at some point.
This changed so much. 1 year, I mean, you imagine coming once a year. You'd learn the flags 1 year, then the next year you'd come back and they'd be like Chip bus and a Dale bus and a Boone bus and a Crockett bus, and you can't catch this boat because it's not the right flag. And I know.
Yeah, the green is the Polynesian. They still use that today with the Magic Kingdom and Grand Floridian, and then the yellow is contemporary.
They made it so easy though. You'd pick a side for the dock, and that boat clearly went to this place, and then you pick the other side. The boat went to that.
Well,
place.
for the boat, it was a little. But these are the bus routes too. The buses were a little more confusing because this is before they had a stanchion for every single possible permutation and combination of where you could go. So
one of my most biggest pet peeves, and it still is at this place. If I want to get somewhere, I feel like I need to go to the hub. Where would you go that the hub is? The Ticket and Transportation Center. Yep. No. That doesn't get you where you want to go. You got to go to the park and catch this. Like, if I want to get to anywhere in that complex, it should be the Ticket Transportation. Doesn't work that way, but whatever.
Guys, I have something here, too. I have an envelope with an unused stamp, 8 cents, so that will help date it. It's the Walt Disney World Guest Relations Department, P.O. Box 40, Lake Buena Vista, Florida. So if we want to send a letter... We could send a little response.
A little response card.
Yeah. Let them know how things are going. JT, you're gonna love this.
Where's your world key?
The gold key. Yep. That's the one with my name on it.
What's on the back? Is it magnetic or is it?
The back was a barcode, and they would put that sticker on after you checked in. It identifies you as a World Adventure guest. Your World Adventure card is good for use of the transportation system, admission to the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, recreational facilities, except arcades, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at any Walt Disney World restaurant where waitress or buffet service is available. This card is found. Please return to the nearest guest services area because...
That's when you don't want to lose.
Here's another one I have, too. This is an interesting one. This is a Magic Kingdom single attraction readmission ticket.
Huh.
Which, pretty rare. I don't recall these. So it says... This ticket may be used for one admission to this ride after operation has resumed or for one admission to any A through E attraction in the Magic Kingdom. So
that's your breakdown, your
it's
fast
a breakdown.
Pass gimme if you know.
Yeah. Do you think I could use this today?
It'd be like I never made it back.
I'm going to maybe I'll try to get on I don't know. Should I get on the
Star Wars.
The Star Wars, thank you. Yeah. Let's see if I can use that with it.
Hey, I don't have a boarding group, but I got this return pass.
I got this return pass.
Excuse me, Kylo. I have this ticket here.
I got another oddball one here too. Again, check this one out.
Oh, it looks like
outbound transfer.
Outbound transfer. So
the gold key, they just threw airline tickets.
I got 3 of these. No. I got these from an ephemera auction a while back. Present this voucher to the driver of the Mears Motor Shuttle for transfer from anywhere in Walt Disney World, Epcot Resort Hotels, or Florida Center Hotels to Orlando International Airport. So this predated the Magical Express when they were just working with Mears, and this comes from the Walt Disney Travel Company. So this would have been included in some of your vacation packages. This is when Disney first started getting in bed with Mears Motor Shuttle.
All right, asterisk. Isn't Magical Express run by Mears now?
It is. Yeah, it is indeed run by Mears. Yep. So
it's basically just a Disney branding on what was already the Mears transfer.
What was already there, and now everybody gets it. So. Yeah. Let's see here. I have it's
like the Long Island Ferry.
Great little folder. Mickey and his...
The travel company, yep.
Yeah, you get your resort things in there when they arrived. Again, if you're listening to us, everything is available in our ephemera section that we're talking about tonight.
Not for sale, just a view.
Yeah, just a view. We don't have it for sale. Let's see. I got to dig through a couple of these others here. I got some good ones. That's something else here.
I've got one here, and I know this is newer, and I'd never held one in my hand. We found it crumpled up when we were going through my grandparents' stuff. This is a Disney dollar. $1.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice.
Never had one of these, never used them or anything, but it's $1. It says 1999 on it, so it's a little newer. But I was like, man, that's cool. I never had one.
I think they were my standard request when aunts and uncles and all would ask what I wanted for Christmas or birthdays, and the Disney stores were in all the malls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I would ask for Disney dollars because they're these beautiful full color, really gift certificates that Disney used to print in dollar denominations. And
we got a nice crisp one here for you. Look at that.
Wow.
I know I've mentioned this on Twitter a few times, but when I would go to spend it in the parks and you'd hand it over, there was always that segment of longtime cast members who always used the same joke. Hey, you got some of that funny money.
Oh. Well, I've got one Disney dollar here in a little envelope that it came in.
Oh.
Right? And in here is a little foldable card that shows all the different types of Disney dollars, the 1 and the 5 available. And it has key facts on the back. So let's learn some key facts about Disney dollars. They're the official currency of Walt Disney World and Disneyland, available $1 and $5 denominations. It's equivalent to U.S. currency in a 1-for-1 exchange. Disney dollars will be accepted at any Walt Disney World admissions, food, and merchandise location. They can be exchanged for their equivalent U.S. currency. It gives a list of locations.
Was this the era of traveler checks being big, and this was like their response to that, or
A little later, I think.
No,
right?
no, it was really gift certificates. I mean, it was really in lieu of gift certificates is what it was. So instead of getting, one with a printed $25 on it, they printed these. They also used to include them a lot in packages. If you booked a Disney vacation package, you'd get $50 in Disney
just take
dollars.
$50 off my tab.
Well, that's
But the brilliant, it was a brilliant marketing plan, right? It's just like any gift certificate is, to your point. It's that give us money, we'll give you this back, and if you don't spend it, look.
Well, that's the big thing because they're so beautiful. They're brilliant, brilliantly colored and artwork and everything. There's a segment of people who would rather keep the gift certificate than spend it.
Right.
And frame it and hang it up, and it's like the time somebody bought me for $2 at a flea market. They bought me a framed sheet of original issue Elvis postage stamps, which were worth 29 cents each when they were issued. Well, I figured it out by looking at it that the sheet was worth like $9, and we paid $2 for it. So I just opened up the sheet and used the stamps. I opened up the frame and used the stamps.
that's thinking.
There you go.
I saved one.
I remember
have one
when those
stamp.
Elvis stamps came out. It was we went to the post office and each bought one. Like,
yeah,
it was a huge deal.
I saved one stamp and I mailed the other $8 worth of them.
Why was that a thing? Like, we didn't even like Elvis, but we went to the post office and bought an Elvis stamp.
Well, that was very early on in the pop culture issue of stamps.
Yeah, I remember it was
stamps
like
before were like King Hiawatha or the American swaddling warbling bird or something.
Yeah, it was it was like they said it was bigger too or something.
It was oversized. It was full color, and yeah, it was a big deal because now they issue 30 pop culture stamps a year.
Yeah.
But back then it was one of the very very first issued ones. That's why it was a big deal.
I like the Disney dollar treasure is Scrooge McDuck.
Yes.
So I've got some cool ephemera here. This is, well, first of all, let's start off. I have my receipt here. My parents paying Watchung Hills Travel in Warren, New Jersey for our trip to Florida. We've talked about the airfare before. So I've got a 2-bedroom unit at the Treehouse Villas with a car, a Buick Skylark, 1980, 7 nights. What did we pay for the land?
For the land.
For the land part of the package.
I'm going to say $1.
$11.76
Per
1980.
night?
No, total.
Oh, 1,000
for the treehouse and the rental car for 7 nights.
That's
$11.76.
$3,700 in today's money.
So that's a stay at.
That's a good deal for a treehouse nowadays.
Yeah, how much is that per day in today's money?
$2,000. $1,100 is $3,700 in today's money.
And how many days was that?
That was for 7.
For 7, so divide that by 7.
Yeah, it's like $400 something a night.
$528 a night.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
still
pretty expensive.
Yeah.
They also look at this Mimeo. This is pre-Xerox. This is like that squeaky paper of the the treehouse layout, right? I've got, and then also the long distance telephone bill my dad paid.
Who do you call?
I don't know. It
You
doesn't
had to make that call.
Which would have been a separate company, Disney's
Yep.
own like little phone company, and
Exactly. So
Don't
it
touch
says
the
here,
phone, kids. It costs money every time.
It was $5.84. He made 2 calls, $2.79, and another one $3.05. Really racked it up. I can only assume he was probably calling back to work.
yeah, probably.
That's and JT, I've got some Fort Wilderness stuff for you. I've got this. This is the Fort Wilderness Campground Vehicle
Oh
ID.
yeah. That's look at 72. That's the one
72.
you put in your front.
And-
They still do that.
And then we
Well,
have
every
this here
resort
too,
does.
which is this one's kind of neat too. This is just an information sheet on transportation facilities, general store. It's just kind of a rundown
That's
that
cool.
you'd get when you check in, and I think this is from probably around the same time period. So, oh my goodness, yeah, so much stuff.
I have a good one here. I keep going back to this. This is my most recent pile of stuff. My grandpa saved everything. Like I have a note square here of every site they ever stayed in at Fort Wilderness and the number. So I could go through and be like, in 1981, my grandpa stayed here. Like my grandma and my grandpa. But my mom gave me a little. It was like a little case, like a leather zipper type thing, and it was like a throwaway. But she goes, "No, open it up," and I open it. It's like a gold Mickey little tie tack, So then I'm going through this ephemera envelope she gives me next, like 4 weeks later. I find the receipt for said tie tack, and they bought it at Mickey's Character Shop. Where was that at for you experts? I don't know.
That would have been at Lake Buena Vista.
Okay. And for some reason, this tie tack, which looks like it costs much more than that. It was a 3D Mickey Mouse gold tie tack, $4.95 in 1994. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's 94.
Yep, that was and they got a Donald plush, a Jasmine something from Aladdin. Aladdin was big then, I guess.
So this is a resort guide. I don't think we've scanned this. This is
nice.
This is great because this is 30 pages. And what's really interesting about this one is that the individual who had this has underlined important things. They've underlined as per
It's
our
like buying a used textbook in college. All
Exactly.
the notes are already made.
I love those ones.
But they underlined resort identification cards, special value tickets. They circled personals checks and travelers checks. They were concerned about tips. They starred the electrical water pageant.
Got to check this one out.
Yeah.
As one should, yeah.
They were making sure that they could get Roman Catholic service. They have that underlined. They were interested in the world cruise. And then, Brian, there's a little dining one in here. They had 3 special dining adventures over at the Lake Buena Vista Club, and they were very interested in the champagne brunch. On Sundays, you're invited to the champagne brunch. Sip the bubbly with cruising the village to the Lake Buena Vista Club, where you dine an unlimited buffet that includes rounds of beef, eggs Benedict, hot cakes, and much, much more. Adults $5.95.
Were they interested in that before or after the service on Sunday? That's the
Yeah, gotta look at the
Hopefully
timetable
afterwards.
for that. Oh, they were gonna get groceries delivered too. So this one I'll have to figure out the best way to scan because I'll have to flatten it out. So
As we're wrapping up here, I want to mention Todd at the top of the show mentioned that most of the tickets for both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, when they were issuing these ticket booklets and probably even in through the early magnetic strips and all, were all made by the Globe Ticket Company. Philadelphia company for like 125 years until they demolished the factory in 1988. I think they're based in Chicago now, but I was actually once at an event in the Globe Ticket founder's mansion.
wow.
And I remember being in the person's house for an event and saying, like, because you could tell it was like an old turn-of-the-century mansion. And they're like, oh, this was the people who founded the Globe Ticket Company. And the thing I remember about it was we were on the back porch and all of the light posts had globe light globes over them. So, and they were like original from the mansion. So
That's cool.
The Globe
That's
Ticket
cool.
Company, Philadelphia, major tickets.
Well, we have one more that we've just uploaded to our website. I got to share this one before we close out the show. There's too much ephemera. I mean, and please, if anybody has anything out there they want us to talk about or bring up, let us know. But guys, we just got these in. Brian, you alerted me to it. We needed to pick them up. And these are the Magnolia and Palm Golf Resort cards, which some fantastic artwork on it.
That's
Let me
cool.
get the
And
other one out.
they probably gave out 50 of those a day. And
Well,
Exactly.
it's the course map, it's your scorecard,
Card,
and then it's got some
got some
promos for
advertisement.
everything else on the property and beautiful cover photos. It's great.
Oh yeah, these are just absolutely fantastic. So we've scanned those in. We're going to get them on the site. I mean, gentlemen, I think what would be really neat one night is that maybe we could commit to this between now. We've done some movie nights, but maybe we do a movie night, a little ephemera show and tell.
Show and tell?
So people can see some of this stuff firsthand live on a YouTube channel. Because, oh my gosh, I got this vacation plan. Look at this, JT. You're going to love this. And Brian, you're going to like this too. You got to tell me what year I can use it in. It's a vacation planner with a calendar at the bottom.
What
are you
year is it?
serious?
Yeah, look at this.
Why would they?
Because they wanted you to know what was going on. So
I see. Okay.
And they
so
want you
what's
to hang it up the whole year.
exactly. Take your time, experience a special season, count down your vacation here. So it was basically a way to.
Does it say what year it's supposed to be?
That's the thing. There wasn't.
No,
Like
you know what?
Like, there wasn't.
It doesn't
an app
even
for that,
matter because it just says it's just numbers listed. I could use it.
Do you have the full month?
Yeah, it's got September 1st through 30th. Unless they change the number of days in September, we're good.
I don't think they did.
As long as it's not a leap year, you're good.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's weird. It's only September through December.
They could use it now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'd love to go through the GAF guide, and we've got this one, the monochromatic Resort World book from. It's really interesting. It's got your rates in it. I mean, look at you'd sit down as a kid. Don't tell me you'd sit there and study this stuff. You know, the rate tables.
Well, some
rates,
kids.
but I would study the burn bombs and the burn bomb kids. That was
Well,
what I
this
would
is
read.
summer. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. There's a pull-out. We should send this in. Oh, Walt Disney World accommodations reservation. It's got the whole thing that you check off what you want. Let's just check here. If there's no expiration date, we might do an experiment. There is none. Okay. There is no expiration. Do you think we should try to book a room?
You go for it. Especially now. See if you can get through.
Do you want a parking lot view? What do you want?
I want whatever.
Oh, the parking lot view is highly sought
Well, it's
after.
cheapest. Disney Village Resort. I should try to book the Disney Inn.
Did they really call it a parking lot view?
Yeah,
back then? They had-
there's a garden view and a parking lot view. Two completely different. The garden view is an extra $10 if you want to look at plants. If you want to look
Right.
at cars, at the Polynesian, it's $180 a night. Garden view was $190.
Because they would never call anything parking lot view today.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Standard view is what it would be.
Ah, there we go.
All right, Disney Village Resort, 1-bedroom club. We can't stay there because it doesn't exist. We got to find something that exists. We got learning adventures. We got some dining. Polynesian review. No prices on. There's no expiration.
They might if you wear a mask, they might let you use it now. So
I'll tell you what. If Central Reservations is still at P.O. Box 10,100, we might send this in. And
send it in.
I should send it in. It wants my credit card. Let's see if we get charged at that rate.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine that? And this is from 91. So, oh, we've dialed numbers before, but we've never booked vacations on old
That's awesome.
old paperwork. Well, that wraps up our Ticket and Ephemera episode. I hope you enjoyed our little journey through the paper world of Walt Disney World. I can't even say that scratched the surface. That is just a highly molecular view of thousands of different types of ephemera out there.
This is your chance, though. As a listener, send us your
Yeah.
stuff. If it's unique, if you don't see it on our site, share it with us because we don't, we know what stuff is, but we don't know it's out there till we see it or it's something cool. If you think
That's
it's
right.
cool, share it.
And there is one more thing because we did talk about it on the last episode, guys. I'm going to post it into Slack here real quick. Take a look at this. This is the I Have an Idea form. That the cast members would fill in. We talked about that. That gentleman wrote in, said he had the idea for, I think it was
This is 1983. I believe my idea
Yeah.
will improve, increase, or promote safety, guest services, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. So if you had it, so we got the idea copy of that
Oh,
as well now.
and a spot for your social security number. Just write it right on there.
Just-
and there's
it's
4
triplicate.
Yeah. It's
So they can pay you.
That's right.
Exactly.
Because you got a cash bonus.
That's right.
If you're getting your $25, they got to report that to the
It doesn't
IRS.
matter,
Identity
too.
stolen. That's
You're going to the store the next day, and they're taking a complete impression of your credit card, and they're going to
like-
throw out the carbon copies.
They're like, I have an idea. Don't steal my social security number.
how many people that filled out identity or ID or what are they called? Idea forms, then got a identity theft later in life.
That's right.
the
Never know. So, alrighty. Well, how we've got hold on. So thanks guys for joining in on this. It was great to reflect back on all this old ephemera. How you added a new shirt though, I think we want to talk about real quick. We got a new one that you threw up there last month, the Outer Rim T-shirt. Which
Oh
looks
yeah,
great.
based on that wonderful menu cover that Brian provided. So
And you found a little bit of kind of artistic fatigue in the logo, you believe?
yeah, I believe so.
We
So
could call it.
back then, all this would have been done with, just on a giant piece of paper with rulers and T-squares. And it's funny, my first thought was like, oh, I'll retrace this in Adobe Illustrator. And then I realized like the thicknesses of the lines and such, it's like you could really tell it was all done by either a pritograph or some kind of pen where, there was variation in it as it was going. And I thought, oh, wow, I'd really like to preserve that because it's so interesting to see that hand-done stuff, close up. So as I was going through the OUTER and outer and then getting down to the RIM, by the time you got to the rim, it's like there was a lot of stuff that was crooked.
Really?
Like, it was no longer perfectly straight. You could just like, I don't know if they just gave up or they're like, okay, I've about had it with this, or they're like, hey, we need this by 5:00. Get it finished. Cause it's very intricate.
It is. It's as
yeah.
simplistic as it is. It is very intricate with all the steps and I can only imagine sitting there with your little ink
Oh,
pen.
it would have been an absolute drag to draw that out by hand.
Oh, yeah.
And try to keep everything consistent. Yeah. Oh.
I'm assuming they probably did it once on like graph paper, then tried to trade. Oh man, yeah, just not.
This
fun.
one lends to me so much for different things. Like I'd love a coffee mug with it. Just different these different products that we have on TeePublic.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool looking.
A lot of good stuff. So, how maybe you'll do one with the Polynesian NBA? That would be a cool one. Or
Yeah, send me a nice high-res scan of that, and we'll
do,
get that going.
we'll do.
Especially
get
with the
that over to you.
NBA coming to Disney World.
Oh,
in
yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
Oh, you
days
could. Yeah,
here.
you could do something cool with that. I know
We'll
you
give
could.
our little spiel on that. Then
Yeah, exactly.
I want somebody wearing Howe's new shirt with the new NBA Polynesian logo at an NBA game in Disney World. That's the hook.
That works. So, we'll get that over to you, How, and take a
I
look
will
at
put
that.
in a plug, even though our hope is that this plug doesn't age well. That when you're listening to this in 6 months, you're like, what would anybody need that for? How you have to plug your masks again, because I got some compliments this weekend on my Disney monorail carpet mask that I was wearing while I was traveling.
Oh, you got one.
Oh, yes.
Nice. I need to get one. And
I was trying to, but it was How closed his store.
Oh, well, see, that's the bad thing. So that particular kind that you had made, Brian, they actually shut down production from that particular company because they were just overwhelmed by everything.
By how popular
So,
Howe's stuff was.
yes. There was, as it happened with as COVID hit, there was just such a rush that that provider opened up. They got pummeled by orders. It took nearly a month for everything to get through, and then they actually cut everything off, I think, on like oh my gosh, like back on, I'm like, what holiday is it? Memorial Day or something? They're like, they just.
So do you have a purveyor now, or you?
I have some designs on TeePublic now.
Okay.
On my personal one, like, and all of the stuff that is in our store at Retro WW, there were also versions for masks for those as well. Because that automatically just carried over.
An
So,
outer rim mask in the outer rim, say you?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Now delivery is also a little constrained. It's still taking weeks to get stuff out because the whole print-on-demand industry just got pummeled during the closure. So, it looks like we're going to have them around for a lot longer than I think any of us anticipated. So, if you're interested in having one in about a month from now, it's like, get your order in now because it still looks like we're going to need them.
Yep. Get a big silver ball mask.
all right. Well, with that, thank you very much, Hal. And if you want to check out any of our stuff, go to retroww.com/support us. And Hal, what's yours as what is it? TeePublic /
Oh, it's if you just search for "Go Away Green,"
perfect.
in the store, it'll show up.
Perfect. We'll do that. Excellent. Well, we'll be back next month with another episode. We haven't settled on a topic yet. There's quite a lot that we need to do some research on for some very big upcoming episodes that might add a little bit of magic purple to your day. So we're certainly looking forward to doing one of those over the next couple of months. Maybe we'll do the Ephemera and a little movie night here. And guys, by the way, we did get some new films in. I got one today. So we got a copy of A Dream Called Walt Disney World. We're going to run that through all of our upscaling and deinterlacing and everything. And we also got Epcot Center, a souvenir program, which we believe kind of falls into between the 16mm version of A Day at Epcot Center and then what was the other one? A Visit To or whatever. No, Day At was the VHS later on. But so we're going to work to get those restored. We've got some other home movies coming out. So a lot of great stuff that we've got to get out there. So we're looking forward to bringing those to you over the next couple months. And as always, watch our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Give us a subscribe and like if you can, and follow. And we'll be back next month. So with that, thanks for listening. If you can, give us a review on iTunes. And with that, Brian, take us out.
Follow the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society on Twitter and Instagram at LBV History and on the web at lbvhistory.org. Follow Todd McCartney and Retro WDW on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Retro WDW. For all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at retrowdw.com. On Twitter, follow our web designer Jason Bartell of Deepwater Studios at JasonDWS. Our announcer, Andre Gardner, at Andre Gardner, and follow our hosts, Hal Bowers, on Twitter and Instagram, at GoAwayGreen, and on the web at kingdomofmemories.com. For JT Cougar on Twitter, at LS1JT, on YouTube at Rubber City Motoring, and on the web at rubbercitymotoring.com. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, at Brian P. Miles. Retro Disney World is the monthly podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society, a nonprofit, nonpartisan, tax-exempt 501c3 organization, and is not affiliated in any way with the Walt Disney Corporation or any of its subsidiary or affiliated entities.